Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 16 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, last month, I posted on LinkedIn a conversation I had with my son titled, "What is your favorite burger franchise?" And I was surprised at how many people enjoyed and responded to the post. It stated the following: "Today, my son and I went hiking by the Delaware River. It's one of my favorite things to do in the Lehigh Valley. My son caught me off guard today and said, 'Dad, what is your favorite burger franchise?'" You know, I started Franchise Interviews way before he was even born, and I never realized he even took an interest or was paying attention all these years. And it turned out to be a long and fun conversation. So I never shared with everyone the results of our conversation. One of our favorites we share in common is Jake's Wayback Burgers. And many years ago, we picked up Jake's Burgers on a July 4th holiday. And since that moment, it's kind of become tradition to pick up Jake's on holidays like Memorial Day, which is only 4 days away, and July 4th. Of course, McDonald's was a big part of the conversation as well. So in honor of Hamburger Month, which is this month, May, we're going to play our interview with Jake's, and we're also going to play a roundtable discussion I had on the movie called The Founder, which is the story of Ray Kroc and the McDonald brothers. So our next hike is scheduled for next week, so perhaps we'll continue the conversation on franchising and podcasting. And I want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be right back with more Franchise Interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 2 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Bill Chimero, the executive vice president of Jake's Wayback Burgers. Wayback Burgers began in 1991 as Jake's Hamburgers with a single restaurant in Newark, Delaware. Hey Bill, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, Marty. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Bill. Thanks for coming on the show. You know, I've been following you guys for a while now, and I realize we've never had you on the show, so I'm glad to finally have you on the show today. And we always like to ask our guests where you're calling from this morning.
I am calling from Cheshire, Connecticut, at our corporate offices.
Can you describe the history of Jake's Wayback Burgers, Bill? I mean, they have an interesting history, don't they?
We do. You know, it started back in 1991, like you had indicated earlier, and it was really out of a situation where the founder found himself out of work after many years in the accounting business.
Wow.
And decided that he wanted to be a little bit more in control of his destiny, and remembered the days of when he worked at a burger joint down in Delaware during his high school and college days, and one thing led to another, and he decided to go into the burger business.
Wow.
That was in 1991 with that single store in Newark, Delaware, which was only 900 square feet. It was a proverbial roadside stand.
And it's still there, isn't it, Bill?
It is.
I understand.
It is.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It still has outside bathrooms, so it is definitely a throwback or way back to the time of burger shacks on the side of the road.
Sure, absolutely. I was at a franchise show recently, Bill, in New York, and it seems like the typical question when a prospective franchisee comes up to a table is, they'll ask the franchisor, so what do you guys do? How do you typically respond to that question when an aspiring franchisepreneur asks you?
Well, we have great products. Our burger has been, quoted as one of the best burgers on the market. It's a proprietary blend of beef. Our milkshake, same thing, fresh ice cream, fresh milk, a lot of awards, but it really boils down to the customer's reaction to the customer service. We go above and beyond with our customer service. We greet the customers when they come in the store, at the register. Once completing their order, we ask for their name, which in a lot of cases people find that odd, but we want to get on a first-name basis with regular customers. When they come in, we greet them by name. We do bring the food to their tables so that they don't have to get up and come to the register. And that's the difference between fast food and fast casual.
Right.
You order at the register, and then you're served at your table without tips. So, what makes us different, I think, is the fact that we really spend a tremendous amount of time on educating our franchisees on the power of customer service. Wow.
And I've heard, too, I've never had Jake's Burgers before, but I've heard from other people that the burgers are truly out of this world, so I can see after this show I'm going to be starving after talking to you, but I think that's great, though. It's interesting how, asking for the customer's name, I think that's very clever, what a great way to build rapport, some businesses, they deal with the same customers over and over again, and they don't know their name for years, so I think that's very powerful, being part of a franchise.
Psychologically, one of the most comforting things in the English language is your name.
Sure, absolutely. So, that's very clever. I love that.
Make them feel special.
Absolutely.
And hence the name Wayback Burgers, because back in the 20s and 30s, at the turn of the century, customer service was an expectation.
Sure, it was.
In today's restaurant world, maybe not so. So we want to bring back the customer service into the limelight, saying, you come into Jake's, we're going to treat you great, and we're going to give you good food too.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's fantastic. I'm sure times have changed, since 1991. How has technology played a role in the business today, Bill?
Well, more so, and this is one of the real attractive features to a Jake's franchise, other than the cost of entry, is the size of the stores. A couple of years ago, we decided to go smaller because of the costs of running a store with rent and utilities and such. Problem with that is you have less tables and chairs. So how do you do as much volume as some of the bigger competitors in a smaller footprint? Well, technology came into play, and it's really more so now in the restaurant industry than it has been in a long time, and that's online ordering. Our online ordering has increased dramatically to where if you're going to go to Jake's for lunch, and it's going to be crowded, and you're going to stand in line for 15, 20 minutes, instead of doing that, you can actually go online to our online ordering service, pick your foods, your drinks, your sides. You tell us what time you're coming into the store to pick up your food on a drop-down menu, and you pay for it online one time. So when you come into the store, you skip the line at the register. You go over to the food area, declare your name, which is another part of the reason we get your name, and you can pick up your food in a bag with your name on it, and at that point, you can either sit down and eat if a table or chair is available, or take it back to the office. And it just seems to be around the lunchtime because everybody goes to lunch at the same time.
That's great. I love
technology
that service.
Is our POS system. If you are an owner-operator, you have all the information on an hourly basis, weekly basis, right at your fingertips as far as sales and what constitutes those sales. If you're an investor sitting in your office somewhere else, you can tie into the computer system. If you've installed a camera system, you can actually see what's going on in the store sitting in your office. Once again, you can check your sales hourly. So technology has definitely made it into the restaurant world.
Yeah, the technology is fascinating. When you hear about all these different things you can do today, versus back in 1991, it certainly has come a long way, hasn't it?
Our ordering service will actually our computer system will actually tell you every Monday what you need to order from your food supplier with the click of a button.
It's like you don't even have to think anymore, do you?
You don't have to walk. You don't have to walk into the freezer anymore.
Oh, it really is something. The industry that you're in, I guess we can say it's pretty big. I don't know if there's any hard numbers, Bill, on your industry.
Yeah, there are some hard numbers. Collectively, the burger market, I think, is a $65 billion a year
could you imagine?
market. It's being dominated, of course, by the big three. And it's Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's. But a lot of these economists say that the better burger market or the fast casual market is taking about a $25 billion slice out of that total amount. So, hence you're seeing a lot of the concepts like McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's going with premium burgers.
Right.
They're starting to name their burgers, and that's one of the attractive features that we've done since 1991 is we've had a burger of the month and a milkshake of the month since then that we create and some wild concoctions. But it's one of the things that a lot of the customers come in every month is to see what next month's burger of the month is.
Wow. That's great. There's other things on the menu too, isn't there, Bill? I mean, I understand you have house-made potato chips and there's chicken sandwiches and it's just a variety. So I mean, you can pretty much go to Jake's, I think, more often, than some of those other places that you may have mentioned.
Well, once again, it's another part of our attractiveness and one of our positive features is the menu. And we think that's what really makes us different. Yes, we are definitely a burger place for sure.
Right.
Even if you love my burgers, which a lot of our customers do, is you can't eat them every day. So
Sure.
where do you go to lunch those other days? Well, you go to other food types. So we made the decision 4 or 5 years ago to make other offerings on the menu that if you really like the service, you like the price points, we're convenient to your office or home, and you feel like a salad, or maybe it's a day where you're going to count your calories, you can have a nice salad. You can have a grilled chicken sandwich. We have crispy chicken sandwiches. So it's morphed into a nice menu that's easy to execute by minimum wage employees, but diversified enough that we have something on the menu for everyone. We have veggie burgers. We have turkey burgers. So if you just want to try different things throughout the week, we have that available to you. For religious purposes, for the 40 days of Lent, we came out with the fish, the WB cod sandwich. So once again, we keep changing it up for the customers.
That's fantastic. What's been one of the most interesting things that have happened to you since joining Jake's? I'm sure there's a number of different stories, Bill, so it's hard to narrow it down to one, but anything stand out?
I just think that the one thing that really stands out is the amount of customer feedback we get from our franchisee stores. From their customers and how they enjoyed the atmosphere, the attention that they get. Someone asking them if they would like a refill on their sodas. Do they need more napkins?
Right.
Just the feedback that we get, I think, has been the biggest surprise. I guess we didn't really anticipate on how starved for customer service the customers really are.
Wow,
and that was a very positive surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of characteristics do you look for in your franchisees then, Bill?
Well, another unique features of ours is we actually prefer non-restaurant oriented franchisees. Now that may sound odd, but it's not. It means that you don't have any bad habits or you don't have any preconceived methodologies that we have to change. So do you need to be a burger flipper or a cash register person? No, not at all. We look for people that have good, solid, strong people skills, because that's what it's all about. You're in the customer service business. You just happen to be selling burgers for a living.
That's something. So what about the training then? I mean, once you decide that, you like them, they like you, and it kind of becomes a marriage after that, how does the training work? Do they typically come to corporate headquarters? How does that work?
Well, it's a 25-day program. The first 10 days is where you're actually going to a certified training store in your area to learn all the ins and outs of the business. So you're actually going to be an unpaid employee of a local store teaching you how to make the burgers and ring the register and all the cleaning systems. So you know the business inside and out. That's number one. And then you come for 5 days of training to what we call Wayback University here in Connecticut. That's management training and ownership training, where we really dive down into the details of running a business. And then the last 10 days, one of our corporate trainers will come to your store 5 days before you open to the public. They'll make sure your employees are well trained. They'll run through the systems with you. We'll have a dry run we call Friends and Family, where we offer free food to the public. It's for a 2-3 hour event. It's always very, very well attended. And then if everything goes well and the trainer thinks that your team is ready to go, they open to the public. And what we do differently than a lot of the other franchise concepts out there is after the store opens to the public, the trainer will stay for another 5 days to make sure everything goes smoothly. And if there is a problem, that they can jump in and help out. And then they slowly pull themselves out of the involvement on a day-to-day basis. And by the 5th day, they're pretty much doing nothing more than observing.
That's
so
great.
25 days altogether.
Wow, that's important. How would you describe, for someone who has no experience in this type of business, this type of franchise, how would you describe a typical day, if there is such a thing, Bill?
Most franchisees arrive in their stores typically about 9. They, for lack of better words, they turn everything on.
Right,
really, right. When you buy a franchise, you're really buying a system.
Sure.
We're very high-tech. We have our own intranet system where if they had any questions, they certainly can go online to the intranet and pull up any one of our operations manuals to get the information they need, assuming they can't get a franchise coordinator on the phone. And then their day starts about 9 o'clock, and they'll go through the startup of the day, do a little prepping, and typically their first employee, if they're going to be an owner-operator, their first employee comes in around 10 just to do a final clean, and then open to the public at 10:30, and then they, most owners will stay till about 4 or 5 in the day, and then they turn it over to a manager.
That's great. I'm sure the day goes by very fast.
Well, yes. In the first couple of 3 months, most owners are there just about 24/7. They don't need to be, but they feel they have to be.
Sure.
And then they finally realize that the systems will take care of everything, and they start to pull back on their time.
That's great. Yeah. What kind of location do you look for? I mean, you mentioned that, there's not a lot of space that's required, to open up Jake's Wayback Burgers, but is there an ideal location? I mean, do you look to be like on a main strip, or how does that work?
Yes. Well, we actually have 5 different models now. We've evolved to that. At that point, we have the standalone, which is on the street corner.
Okay.
Then we have the end cap, which is outdoor dining or even a drive-through. That's the preferred location. That's typically about 1,800 square feet. In a shopping center, it has a lot of exposure. You can see it from the road, a lot of traffic, preferably at a stoplight. But then we have the inlines, and then the new kid on the block is the Wayback Express unit, which is designed for airports, malls, universities, and military bases. That's great. So we can go anywhere from 600 square feet up to about 2,000.
Wow. It's nice to have that flexibility, too, isn't it? It's nice for the aspiring French entrepreneur, who wants to get involved in your system, that they have a couple different choices that, with some systems it seems like there's just one choice and that's it, so I think that's fantastic.
I mean, one of the real positive things is we have quite a few what they call multi-unit operators that started with a single store.
Right.
And then they decided that based on their experience in the unit economics that they wanted to do a second store. And their second store might only be a couple miles down the road, but it might be in the mall. So we have all these different models to accommodate, the growth based on the individual city.
That's fantastic. So you've been involved in franchising for a while now, Bill. The majority of our listeners are, we call them aspiring French entrepreneurs. They have it in their mind that they want to buy a franchise, but we find that most of them don't even know where to begin. What advice would you give to them?
Do your homework. And what I mean by that is research several different options. And typically, people will start to gravitate towards what they know in life from their past experiences or their past skill sets. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the best spot for you, but sometimes stepping outside that box and going into different worlds can be exciting. But do your homework, talk to the franchisor, go visit them, spend a day with them, go into the stores, talk to franchisees. It's all about relationships. And then we can do a business deal after if everyone's comfortable with the relationship. So that's what we look at is making sure that everyone's coming in with eyes wide open. We're not in a big hurry to sell franchises, but and going back to your question is they shouldn't be in a hurry to purchase one either. Take their time, do their homework, talk to a lot of franchisees, get a feel for the level of support, because that's what they're going to need. If they don't have a restaurant experience, they're going to need a lot of help, a lot of support, backup, guidance, training. Make sure that's in place. That would be my advice.
No, I think that's great advice. It's very well said. So, what are the plans for the future for Jake's Wayback Burgers? I mean,
well, I'm glad you asked that, because I was hoping you're going to ask that question. We have been very fortunate. We've been very successful. We grow our stores, our business one store at a time. Mm-hmm. We do have some multi-unit operators now. We've been discovered by certain brands and their operators that are now getting into the burger business. But we've now expanded internationally. Wow. We have a great partner over in the Middle East that has agreed to help us grow 28 countries. Wow. So the growth has been very good. Success has been very, very high. So I think it all boils down to the fact that we get to know our franchisees before they're franchisees. We want to make sure that we can get along together and work together.
That's fantastic. That's great. I'm looking forward to you coming to our area, by the way. I don't know, are you guys in Eastern Pennsylvania yet, or you're heading close to our area?
Yeah, we Eastern Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia market?
Pretty much, yeah. We're about 50 miles from Philadelphia.
Yeah, if you go to www.waybackburgers.com.
Okay.
You click on the locations tab. I think you'll find 4 or 5 stores in that area that you can go try.
Wow, that's fantastic. That is great. Is that the best way for our listeners to get more information too, Bill, on becoming a franchisee? Is the website they should go to?
Absolutely. We had 40 new franchisees come on board last year, and 22 of them were customers at existing stores.
I imagine that's probably how it works. I think that's great. Well, it's great to finally have you on the show, Bill, and I'd already like to invite you back next year as you guys continue to grow.
Absolutely. Let us know. We'd be more than happy to participate.
Thanks, Bill. You have a happy 4th, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? Franchise Interviews, an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com. Or you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 15 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, today, Franchise Interviews is celebrating our 15-year anniversary, and today we're going to start our show discussing the topic, or the movie, called The Founder. Let's go right into our interview. Today, we're talking about a great movie. It's become one of my favorite movies, and that movie is called The Founder, and it's the story of Ray Kroc, and Ray Kroc is a salesman who turned two brothers' innovative fast food eatery, McDonald's, into the biggest restaurant business in the world with a combination of ambition, persistence, and ruthlessness. And one of our tasks that I mentioned to the group was, I said, what are 3 takeaways from the movie? And Samantha, I'll start with you. I know it was probably, as you said earlier, there's probably a lot of them, but if you had to list your top 3, what did you get from the movie?
One of the first things I got from it is that the McDonald's brothers themselves really missed out on an opportunity to create their own wealth because they were too set in their ways and they didn't want to adapt and change.
Yes.
And,
yes.
In order to keep your business moving and growing, you have to be able to adapt and be flexible and change with the times as things come in and out.
Yeah. It's powerful, Samantha, what you just said, because it's funny. I started reading the Walt Disney book, that I kind of recommended to the group. It's a little bit slow. I'm listening to the audio version of it, but he said, Walt Disney said something that you just mentioned about the McDonald brothers, and a gentleman named Michael Gerber mentioned it to me on my podcast. He said that most businesses fail not because they think too big, but because they think too small, right? Yeah, and as it's like, that was kind of like their mindset, right? It was, they were kind of, I mean, you can't take anything away from them. They created this amazing system that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for them. Yeah. But it seemed like they were content, right, with like just San Bernardino.
They were content,
and that was it.
And they had that philosophy, and that I think that was very common during that time was, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yes, exactly. It was safe, wasn't it? I think it was a safe mindset, you know, and there was probably a couple different reasons that they were that way. But I thought that was interesting. I think that's a great takeaway, Samantha, because I got that one as well. What else, Samantha? Did you have anything else that you kind of took away from the movie?
Then I think the flip side of that, you know, Kroc's determination and vision were admirable because he failed plenty of times and various other ventures before this, but he never gave up. He kept persisting.
Right.
And he was able to see, say what you will with tactics, but he was able to see how he could make what the McDonald's brothers had started and weren't willing to change and do the changes to make it bigger.
Yeah, and take it to another level, you know, and that's exactly, you know, what he did. You know, I mean, it really was amazing. What inspires me is that I think Ray Kroc was, I don't know if they mentioned his age, I think they did mention his age in the movie. I said he was in his 50s, right? I think he was kind of, you know, right, he was like in his young 50s maybe. But that's inspiring, isn't it? I mean, he really didn't make it until his 50s, you know, and I guess what we're saying also is to never give up, you know. Colonel Sanders was another example of that. I'm sure both of you know, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, as I used to know it as when I was a kid, and I guess some people call it KFC today. But, I mean, Colonel Sanders, I mean, he really didn't make a big impact until I think he was when he started collecting his first Social Security check, and he realized that he couldn't live on that little amount of money on a monthly basis. So he comes up with this idea for Kentucky Fried Chicken. And the story goes is that he pitched the idea. They said it was around 1,000. It was a little over 1,000 people. And so he got 1,000 no's. And could you imagine like getting the response no 1,000 times? You know what I mean? It's just, I think most people probably would have quit, but he didn't. He found somebody that was willing to franchise the KFC concept, and then he got his first and his second and his third, and you know, the rest is history. So it's kind of inspirational for people. I think a lot of times people think they're too old, you know what I mean, to accomplish something, and I would say you're never too old, right? And I think that's a great takeaway, Samantha. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything else, Samantha, before I jump to Sean?
Never, something about don't rely on just a handshake deal, you know, have
big
a contract, have it documented, because, you know, he was able to, you know, process, you know, a lot of this was able to happen because he kind of had a word of the mouth or a handshake deal on this stuff instead of an actual contract. That
was shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's that, you know, to do any deal based on a handshake. I see what he was doing.
It's more shocking because I don't think it's like something that in this day and age where, you know.
Right, exactly. And maybe, you know, McDonald's is probably a case study for that, isn't it, of why you should never do business based on a handshake, that we can never, as entrepreneurs, do anything without having a solid contract and even what's called like an exit strategy, you know, is how are we going to exit this business, you know, and that's a big one, I think, is the whole handshake thing. I think that shocked a lot of people, you know. I think those are great takeaways, Samantha. It's fantastic. How about you, Sean? I know you probably had about 40, but if you had to narrow it down to 3, what were your top 3?
I want to hit on what Samantha said last. Like the McDonald brothers, I think, were set in their ways, small town guys. That the verbal handshake thing like back in the day, if that's just what they did, you know, it was they took your word. And Ray Kroc, that lawyer he got was when he took it to the next level. When he was in the bank when he had his house after his wife found out about the mortgage.
Yeah.
And he remortgaged the house. And he's sitting there, and that banker's like, no, we're not extending your credit line. And the guy, that lawyer, was sitting there, and he heard him. That was a key turning point, I think, in the company, in the whole movie. When he got that guy. And, you know, in business, you need a great lawyer, you know, a great team to keep all those contracts, no holes, no cracks. And that's what we found out with the McDonald brothers. They trusted and had too much faith, I think. Okay, I get that. But in business, man, business is business. It's cutthroat. It's ruthless. There is, you know, it's like playing basketball. Michael Jordan would go on the court and he hated your guts for 40 minutes. But afterwards, he's partying and playing poker with you. So that's why I always say never get in business with your friends, is because it'll never work, right? And I wanted to say, like, his vision. He had a vision, and he never, ever shied away from that. He stayed true to himself. He stayed true to his ideas, his perseverance. So, like you said, 1,000 no's, as in Colonel Sanders' story. If he would have quit at $9.99, KFC wouldn't be KFC. So that's why you have to keep going. I'm reading a book right now called Life Starts at 40. I'm 40, and I'll be 41 next week. Or this week, actually, in 4 days.
That's great.
But, so I feel better now than I have ever in my life, even when I was 21, you know. So these guys' story are very inspirational. As I was watching this movie, man, I was so inspired. And then his innovation, right? The Instamix, right? No one believed in him but himself. In the end, at night, when you lay down to go to bed, it's just you. Unless you have your wife and, you know, your significant other. But it's you. Tomorrow, it's just going to be you. If everybody else fails you, you still got you, man. That's why believing in yourself, having high self-confidence, and we saw that in Ray Kroc. In the end, it was, I don't want to say cocky, but when he was doing that speech in front of the mirror before he was going to go see Reagan, my God, that was so powerful. It was. And so he was 52. I'm 40, so that's inspiration in itself. Look at Tom Brady. He's 44, winning Super Bowls. I can never quit, man. I can't quit. So I have to be the best I can be. And Ray Kroc I'm so blessed to be able to watch that movie. It is one of my favorites. If he didn't get an Oscar, he should. But the innovation, so the all paper and plastic, when he did that, you know, he was all about efficiency. Obviously you got that speed routine from the McDonald brothers, but then he restructured the menu and made it simple. He forced you, almost the customer, to buy what he would, milkshake or a Coke, a fry, and a burger in the beginning. And then what I never knew about McDonald's was his real estate company. They're the largest real estate holding companies in the world today. I never knew that. That's amazing. So that lawyer, man, I don't think McDonald's would be what it is today without that lawyer. I don't think Ray Kroc would have taken it to the next level. Maybe he would have. We don't need to question it because it is what it is, right? They're on every block in any city of the world. They're in every country, every continent. But, I was fascinated, man. But then I went to hit on another thing that I just now thought of that I knew this whole time, but it just hit me. The love story in all this. So his wife was very supportive. But then obviously he was a workaholic, right? Never, always on the road. She kind of didn't give up on him, but, you know, when he met that guy, that restaurateur, the guy in Chicago or Minnesota, and his wife that was playing the piano, she inspired him. And when he saw her with the idea of the Instamix at dinner, and he drank that milkshake, and then they show him having that conversation in private, each of them, they fell in love. And then they lived till he died in 84. They were married, happily ever after. I think you need somebody. I was just thinking, like, your significant other has to be all in with you, man. And they should inspire you. They should keep you going. They should always have your back. And we saw that with that relationship. And that guy knew it. When he saw Ray Kroc staring at her from the dinner table while she was playing the piano, he knew it was a matter of time. And then his friends even saw, like, man, they're going to be together at some point. I read that.
That was a powerful scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was amazing. That movie was. I'm surprised I never heard about it, but my God, it's very fascinating and it's inspiration, man. Just to never give up on your dreams. Always keep going. Yeah. Even if the world doesn't agree with your idea, don't ever discount yourself. Just work towards that dream. Anything is possible, man. Yeah. And I'm blessed to have been able to be a part of this. Thank you, Dr. Marty.
Oh no, absolutely. I'm glad that you, Sean and Samantha, liked it so much. It's funny because I can tell you. I mean, I could watch the movie tonight again if I wanted to. I could watch it over and over again. I don't know why. It just I never get bored of it. But it's interesting. What you were saying, Sean, earlier is that McDonald's, because of that one gentleman. I think he plays a part on. He was one of the characters in The Office, but he played a great role in the movie. When he said to Ray Kroc that he goes, "You're not in the hamburger business, you're in the land business," and you're right. That's what changed everything, right? Because McDonald's, right, they're in the land business. When you look at their balance sheet and you look at what they own in assets in terms of land, that changed the whole business model, didn't it? I mean,
because it was at a point in his life. That's why I said if it wasn't for that lawyer, it might not have been McDonald's, because that was an important life. He was about to lose his house. He was in debt. He wasn't even covering his expenses. Right. That lawyer, when they started leasing the land that they bought the McDonald's on, that these franchisees put their McDonald's on, it changed the game. And now they're the biggest real estate company in the world. I think that's what it said at the end.
I think it said at the end of the movie. Right, yes, I think it did. Because, McDonald's owns, I think they have, and I don't know if they own the land to all of it, but, I mean, I think they're up to, 33 or 36,000 units, So, I mean, it's probably somewhere in that area. That's amazing, isn't it? If you take 33,000 and multiply it by an acre or two of land, I mean, it's astronomical, So there were a lot of people that were involved in the whole thing, It's funny, when I was thinking of, there was a lot of things I didn't know before until I actually saw the movie. I didn't realize that McDonald's did start franchising the concept before Ray Kroc even came to town. I didn't realize, and if you remember, they had some problems with it was called quality control. In other words, their franchisees were selling hot dogs, right, and barbecue chicken, and it was was crazy. They just weren't following the rules. So I think they said, you know what, this is just not worth it, But where Ray Kroc took it to another level was he wanted to make sure that the franchisees that he took on did follow the rules, and I guess the mistake he made, was that he sold a couple to his friends. There was that scene on the golf course where he was yelling at. He said, "What the hell is this? What kind of hamburger? It has lettuce on it." And they weren't following the system. And the best franchisee it seems like he got initially was, I don't know if you remember the scene where there was a gentleman, he was selling Bibles, and he was selling a Bible in the office.
Oh, okay, yep.
You remember that scene? And then, he approaches him.
He gave him a chance.
Yeah, he gave him a chance.
I think he reminded him of himself.
Yes, that's probably what it was. Yes. And you could take any scene from the movie, by the way, and we could probably talk about any scene for hours, but I think that's probably what happened there, was he said, you know what, this is who I need to be going after. In marketing we talk about target audience, and these guys that he was selling franchises to, that those weren't good franchisees for the McDonald's systems. He needed the average person, you know what I mean? The average, husband, wife, family, somebody who's working really hard but has this tremendous opportunity to make a lot of money if they purchase a McDonald's. And I imagine that if that man was the first franchisee to McDonald's, he must have been worth a fortune by the time he sold it, and that was great for him. The scene on the tennis court, that was one of my favorite scenes too. I don't know if you remember that, but they had all these young gentlemen, and they were trying to create the system for McDonald's, the two McDonald brothers. Yeah. Because that's what McDonald's really was, right? Yeah. Yes, it was like the Speedy system, and that's why the McDonald brothers purchased 8 milkshake machines from Ray Kroc. Yeah. Ray Kroc, right, he was having a hard time selling these things. he couldn't sell them to the average restaurateur. But these McDonald brothers, they agreed with Ray Kroc's philosophy. Is the more supply they had, the more milkshakes they could sell, and the more burgers they had, the more that they could sell, and it worked, and that's why they became initially, probably it was his biggest sale, to sell 8 of these machines in one location. But the whole system, of just systematizing it on the tennis court was just. I love that scene as well. I thought that was terrific.
Yeah, good scene.
It was fantastic, Samantha. I've showed that to my students in the past, that I've worked with, when we talk about processes and systems and things like that. It's a great model to show to people, But I think those are great takeaways. If for anyone who's listening to this, again, if you haven't seen the movie, Samantha, Sean, and I would certainly say it's not a waste of time, is it, to watch the movie? I mean,
definitely not.
Right? I think everybody can get something out of it, Samantha, from a business perspective or a life
get something
perspective.
Different every time. You can watch it
exactly.
again and again and take away something that you didn't take away.
Exactly. It's funny because I feel like watching it again tonight after talking to both of you.
Like I said, and then we can have this conversation tomorrow.
Right, and it'll be a totally different conversation, and we'll pick up something else.
Different scenes.
Yeah, it really is classic. I would love to be able to show it to my students in the classroom, but there's copyright issues and things like that, of course. But but nevertheless, I mean, it was great. So I was so happy, that both of you, decided to participate in this.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.